Welcome to Vegas Live with Ninon. I'm Ninon, your host, and we are actually at the Hartland Mansion, but are we in for a treat right now? I have just met one of the most prominent women in Las Vegas. Absolutely amazing. She is Garry Hart's sister, which means Garry Hart is the owner of Hartland Mansion, and it was all started with your mum and dad.
Yes, exactly.
So her mum and dad are the original owners. Unfortunately, they both passed away.
Yes.
But they're up there. Actually, they're telling us what to say and what to do. So
Absolutely.
Hi, they're up there.
And I'm Linda.
And this is Linda, and this is Linda Hart. Absolutely amazing. And I just met her, actually. So now I'm going to find out everything about Hartland Mansion.
Okay.
And I'm sure we could probably sit here for 2 days, but we'll abbreviate it a little
Sure.
bit. So you don't live here, do you?
No, my husband and I live in Manhattan, and we also live in Los Angeles.
Manhattan? Oh, I
Yes.
love Manhattan. That's a great... Yes.
Yes, so we do. I'm just here visiting my brother for a couple of weeks.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yes, but I've spent a lot of time here.
And you live in Los Angeles as well?
Yes, we do.
Where in Los Angeles?
In the West Hollywood Hills.
I lived in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah?
I lived up on Mulholland Drive.
We're pretty near there.
I'm 7534 Mulholland Drive. That was my
Well,
old
we'll
address.
look it up.
my view was the Hollywood Hills there.
Oh, yeah.
It was
It's
like when
lovely.
you used to watch the coyotes and...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was fun. So which do you prefer? Manhattan.
Well, I'm an actress, and so I do a lot of Broadway, which
Yes.
makes Manhattan pretty comfy.
Yes, absolutely.
So we live in Manhattan most of the year, and we live in Los Angeles during the wintertime.
Oh, how wonderful.
And my husband is more of an East Coast guy. My family was from Texas, and my father was an evangelist.
Yes.
And my mother, they married quite young to take a back door into Heartland. My mother was 16 when they married.
Oh, and how old was your father?
He was about 20,
So
21.
Not much age difference between them.
Right.
No?
And she was extraordinarily talented. She played 17 instruments.
Oh my goodness.
And my father was our father was a spectacular minister. They married, and I was on the road with them as a child in tent revivals. And we travel all over the world, and I had two younger brothers, and we became the musical Hart family, and then it was the Hart family, and then it was just called the Harts. And we've recorded, I don't know, maybe 25 albums and 4 Grammy nominations.
I know, because in one of your
Grammy
rooms you
win.
had all these awards in there.
Yes.
There's so many
The
awards.
music room.
The music
Right.
room, so many
Right.
awards. And I was fortunate enough to meet your mother. I can't
Oh,
say I knew
wonderful.
her that well, but at least I met her, and she was such a lovely lady.
She was a dynamo,
Amazing,
and
yes.
your previous guest running for city council, my mother ran for city council.
Oh, really?
Tony Allen Hart ran for city council a while ago, but it was so funny because she was so loved and admired by the local people, and she was from Texas, so Texas meets Las Vegas was a perfect combo.
match.
Absolutely, because she was plain. She was glamorous, gorgeous.
Oh, she was so glamorous
and yet
gorgeous.
so plain spoken.
Well, she was very down to earth with people.
Absolutely.
She was 100% with people. It didn't matter who you were or what you were. It didn't make any difference to her. She just spoke to everybody.
Right.
Absolutely. Now, I understand she performed, or your father and mother performed many weddings. People getting married.
Well, both of them were ministers.
They're both ministers.
There are 13 ministers in the Hart family. And
Wow.
the mother performed in Heartland one Valentine's Day, 78 weddings.
On one day?
In one day, and it was just
One after
like
the other?
like a drive-through.
Like a drive-through.
Yes, she was. She could
But it
do
didn't
a
bother her,
ceremony
and she
so
could do it.
quickly. She could do it, and she really
That must have been
enjoyed
an
doing
incredible sight to see all these brides and the grooms and everybody. And
Well, for those of you who have been to Heartland, you'll know what I say. There's an extremely large entry hall, about 3,000 square feet,
Yes.
3 stories high, with a beautiful grand
and
piano,
a circular
a dome,
stairway.
a dome with a Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind staircase.
staircase.
Absolutely gorgeous.
But Mother used to sit at the piano
Yeah.
and play Here Comes the Bride, and the bride would come down one of the grand staircases, and then the bride would be in place, she would leave the piano, and she would come and marry them
Yes.
And then after they married them, she would go out into the 6,500 square foot pool room, and she
There's
would
an
have
indoor pool, by the way,
cooked
here.
all the dinner. She would have served the dinner. So she was a one-woman show. She was a master of.
That is amazing. She would
most
have
everything.
she would have like a banquet for all of them.
Oh yes, yes. Well, that's
That's
what we do here at Hartland.
yes.
You know, there's a huge bridal table over there. That's a Barbie and Ken bridal table, and it's extremely elaborate. And the theme was no wedding too small.
No, well,
So-
absolutely not, because this is a very, very large.
It's
place.
very large, but the theme was it doesn't. If you're in love and you want to get married in a 31,000 square foot mansion, it's just as personal.
Now, Sean was just here on my show,
Mm.
and he was talking about, having this as such a legacy, this
Yes.
Hartland Mansion.
Yes.
How is that something agreeable with them and city and the
Who
whole
is
bit?
them?
No, the city of Vegas to make this like a monumental place.
I would. It's now a historical district.
Historical district,
here.
yes.
And when my mother drove by this house, it was actually two houses that was slightly connected.
Yeah.
And she and my father bought it, and there was a terrible fire, and during the building, half burned to the ground, and then was rebuilt. And it's funny because it's so big, that was not the original plan. She had an Italian architect who said, "Tony, I'm going to make it big. It's going to be big.
Typical
They're gonna
Italiano,
remember who I am." And I think the original house was 20,000 square feet, and this is 31.
This is 31
Yes,
now.
it is. And but she designed it. She did the architecture design of
Oh,
it.
but
And
beautiful. With
my-
all the different bedrooms and
Yes,
every bedroom is a
an
masterpiece.
and
though.
each bedroom has an inclusive bathroom.
Yes, but
as
it's
well.
like a masterpiece.
Sweet.
It's elaborate.
Yes.
It is so gorgeous. You've got to come
Yes.
down and see it.
Yeah, I agree.
So you must be very proud of being sort of part of this.
I'm
whole
very
sort
proud
you know.
of my family. They were both Pentecostal preachers who were so extraordinarily talented. And my entire acting and singing career is because as a child, I was really, it's very important if you're on stage to slightly be fearless.
Well,
And
yes, you
this
have-
is what you learned, what
And
I
so
learned
your
as a
mother
child.
actually put that into you.
Absolutely.
Became fearless at a very young
Absolutely.
age. I mean, with all these weddings and all
Right.
and then traveling around the world, as you said you did.
We did.
What is
We
the
did.
most outstanding thing you can think of that you actually did with your mother? Because I'm sure there's quite a few. But
Well, we dressed alike. She was incredibly crafty as well as a phenomenal seamstress. And she made all of my clothes, and I would wear little white socks, and she would sew lace on them. I was very feminine,
she brought you up as a little girl.
She did, but she was a feminist without knowing it or even ever having thought of that term. She did everything herself.
Of course, yes.
Everything, and she was a very strong woman, and yet raised very sweet and shy, and yet a powerhouse.
Yeah.
So we traveled the world. My father would speak and preach, and my mother would sing and play instruments.
And always be together. They were very much
Yes.
together, weren't they?
Yes, they were a fantastic team.
But yes,
They were a
and it's funny
great
because you
team.
had that, 16 and 2021, then they got married, and staying together for all that time.
Yes.
And also building each other's power up.
You know,
Because that's-
an interesting story about Hartland was that when she originally built this, she built the north wing to live in.
Yes.
And the wing that we're sitting in, and
Right now.
this is a story that doesn't get told very often, there are so many stories, she wanted to build it as a music school for autistic children.
How
And she
wonderful.
couldn't get the zoning.
Oh.
Now, she got the zoning, the liquor license, the marriage chapel license, the museum license,
Every other
the
one.
inn. But at that time, you couldn't get a music school for autistic children.
Oh.
So that was the original intent
Of-
of this
of
entire
this
wing.
whole wing.
And then when that didn't work, I think that's why she became such good friends with all the politicians.
Of course.
Because she was constantly trying to get
Trying to
these
get it through.
variances.
And did she
and
ever get it
everything.
through?
She didn't get that through, but my God, she got everything else.
Everything
and when
else.
she passed, not only Oscar Goodman, but Carolyn both spoke at her service.
Oh, how beautiful!
And they were very, very dear friends.
They're kind of very Vegas ground.
Oh,
Vegas.
absolutely!
I mean,
and you can imagine,
people.
no one.
That's America.
And Mother never drank a drop of alcohol, and you have Oscar Goodman walking around.
Yeah, Martini.
With a
He's Mr.
glass,
Martini,
which is perfect.
Which great.
For Vegas,
why not?
Right?
Absolutely,
Perfect.
absolutely.
But Hartland has seen countless, endless stores, as you know.
Now, I asked about your mother. Now, what about your father?
My father, he's holding albums off to the side there.
My
father.
We'll have this. Oh. Now, this we know who this is. This is Linda Hart.
Well, this is my first
who we are talking
gospel
with
album.
right now.
It's
this
kind
is your
of embarrassing.
gospel.
Yes, it's my first gospel album.
I think they have that. Good.
Then there were 25 of these.
And this is what you were talking about, the Hart family. There's the Hart family right there.
This one, I think, is this is the name had changed.
This is the musical Hart family. So there was a couple of names that you said that you changed the name.
Yeah, that was always Mother, and Mother was always making the costumes. But it's been...
Mother was changing things up all the time.
All the time. Not to mention playing 17 instruments in the same song.
17 instruments in the same song.
But I want to tell you
back to Dad. I want to go back to your father.
Exactly.
One special thing about... Well, I'm sure there's plenty of special things, but, something that sort of...
There are two that stand out. Okay. One is that Robert Duvall was making Tender Mercies in a small town in Texas. And he asked around... town, the locals, who was the greatest preacher that really believed in what he preached on.
What he preached, yes.
And they heard about the Hart brothers. The Hart brothers were six brothers, and 5 of them were preachers. And they all have churches all over the world.
And those were your aunts and uncles, or your uncles?
Those were my
mostly.
uncles,
your
exactly.
Uncles, yes.
So Robert Duvall, with the great Horton Foote, who is a brilliant writer, got on a plane, picked my father, went to his church in Detroit that my mother and my father founded, and sat in the congregation. And at the end of the sermon on a Sunday morning, Horton Foote and Robert Duvall walked up to my father, Reverend Ralph Hart, and said, "You are either the greatest preacher in the world or the greatest actor." To which
one or the other.
The great thing about my father, he loved everybody, but he didn't know a lot of famous people. And he said to Robert Duvall, he said, "Well, thank you very much for coming here. We just."
But did your father know who it was?
Well, he had a huge Texas accent, and he said, "I'm Reverend Hart. What's your name?"
Sounds like me.
Exactly. And then Duvall said, "Well, I'm an actor." Of course, then my father, of course, said, "You must know my daughter, Linda Hart." And he wrote a book and a movie with part of my father's life story in it, which is called The Apostle. Was nominated for 3 Academy Awards. And my father was one of the people that Robert Duvall studied for a couple of years before he made the movie. And the other really interesting thing, particularly Vegas,
exciting, huh?
Vegas loves their mobsters. My father got a call one day from Jimmy Hoffa.
Okay.
And Jimmy
we all know who Jimmy Hoffa is.
Said, "Reverend Hart, I'd really love to take you to lunch." And they go to lunch, and Jimmy Hoffa simply said, "Would you like to run for mayor? We'd really like you to be mayor." And my father said, "No, thank you. I know nothing about politics." And Jimmy Hoffa said, "You don't need to."
Just be mayor. That's all you need.
Exactly.
Just have the name.
So thank God my dad had the
He stuck to his guns.
Absolutely.
He stuck to what he knew best,
he
what he
believed
wanted.
in what he preached.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think those are 2 beautiful stories. And these are just a few of the stories. And I've been so fortunate enough to meet Linda Hart. I didn't know she was going to be here tonight. And
That's right.
And I really didn't know. And this is such a pleasure and such an honor to have, because you are history of this place.
You
are. You're just part of it and everything.
Thank
and
you.
How's your brother doing, Garry?
Just walked out of the room. Gary's doing great, working hard at keeping Hartland going, which was my mother's dream.
Yes.
And he's
he's
trying to follow in her footsteps.
And I think he's doing it well. He's a good friend of mine. I absolutely adore Garry Hart. I absolutely adore him. And I've always said to him, whatever I can do for you, let me know, and I'll do whatever I can, whatever it may be. Great. I don't mind, because I'm going to do anything. I don't mind at all. And
so don't forget, You gotta have heart, lots and lots and lots of heart.
Keep going. She's like a coloring book.
Oh, you gotta have heartland. Lots and lots and lots of heartland. That's all I know.
Heartland it is. Actually, Hartland Mansion. Such an honor to have Linda Hart.
Thank you.
Part of the family of actually this incredible mansion. We shall be right back soon to our next guest.
Thank you.